So as we are rapidly approaching FGO's anniversary, I've been seeing a lot of comments, whether that be in my Discord, on the YouTube channel, or even in live streams about people asking, who do I prioritize? Is it Ace the Savior, who they've heard is really strong? Is it Summer Castoria, who they also know is really strong? I mean, there's crazy reruns during summer bringing back Ruler Scotty and Oberon, and then there's also Summer Melusine, who herself is also really strong. Who do you go for? And I wanted to make this video as kind of just an all-inclusive discussion about who you should prioritize based on what you have on your account. So hopefully by the end of this video, you can take all the information that I'm about to give you, you can look at what you have on your own account, and then determine what the order is going to be in, because these are going to be a lot of very powerful banners, and this took a bit of time to compile. So as per usual, if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I do put these videos out every single day to make sure you have something FGO related to watch in your subscription box, it would be greatly appreciated, as it's free and helps me out more than you know. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking this down. So the first and most important person to grab is probably going to be an answer that some people aren't going to want to hear, but that is going to be Oberon. The first determination you have to make is, do you have Oberon on your account? Because I know there are a lot of players that say, oh, I'm just playing this game for the wifeys, you know, I just want to summon for my waifu servants, or ew, I don't like that guy's art style. Unfortunately, this is a character you're going to want to have in your account. If you want those pretty waifus of yours to be hitting those big numbers, and if you want to have an easier time going into 90 plus and plus nodes, and even some boss fights as he can help you cinch out the end of the fight, this is going to be a character that you're going to have to make a determination on. And as somebody that has played the game both with and without Oberon, whether that be my NA versus my JP that I just recently got Oberon on, it has definitely been a lot harder to get some of the 90 pluses done, and those are the best nodes for farming if you want to level up your characters and again make them be able to do all the pretty things you want your DPSs to be able to do. So Oberon, I would say, is actually the highest priority character that you should be going for. Because if you're wondering if he's that good, yes, he is that good. He works in every single setup. If you want to buff up your Buster characters, your Ards characters, even in some of your quick setups, this guy is always going to be a very, very strong contender for who you should be summoning on. But with the obvious out of the way, now that we've cut away from Oberon, we move down to what I like to say tier 2 for your prioritization, and that is between Ace and Summer Castoria. And this one is a little bit more difficult because depending on who you ask, either one of these is a contender for best character coming out this year. And if you're torn between the two of them, if there's nothing, you know, between whether you like one character more than the other that is kind of nudging you in one direction, let me just give you a basic rundown. If your account is lacking in a strong single target character, then it's a pretty easy choice to go for Summer Castoria. But if your account is lacking a bit in either an AoE DPS character or a support, then Ace the Savior is going to be your determination. That's who you're going to prioritize. Because both of these characters, in all truthfulness, are so monstrously good that it doesn't really matter which one you pick. So at that point, you can determine, what does your account need? Are you struggling with taking down some high HP bosses? Then Castoria is probably going to be the better character for you, because with a 70% split battery, triple power mods, and the ability to crit like an absolute madman, and for some reason still retaining solemn defense on their NP, she's always going to be a strong option going into a 90 plus node if you need to chunk a large enemy, especially with her being a berserker, or running into CQs, advanced quests, whatever have you, whatever boss fight, she's going to be great for those. But if you find that your AoE characters are lacking, or you're just lacking in some additional support on your account, then Ace the Savior is going to be the easy pick, because not only does she have the ability to do Buster farming herself, but I made a video a good couple of months ago, something along the lines of my favorite setup to use at the moment, where I demonstrate that Ace can let you do Buster farming without Koyenskaya. That's because her third skill gives everybody 100% battery and a fat 30% NP damage buff. In fact, in those setups, I don't even have my own Oberon at that time. I borrow a friend. I'm just using my Ace the Savior, Kukulkan, who realistically can be any other servant with a 50% battery, and then Koyen Dark, not Koyen Light, just because she gives 30% to the entire party, and it has a positive additional effect because it gives a Buster buff. I mean, that's the type of stuff that Ace the Savior can enable. A 50% battery to the entire party is no joke, when that's also giving them a fat NP damage buff, which again, to loop back to the beginning of the video, really helps out your Oberon setups, because now is he not only doing doing a butt ton of damage, but you can even further increase the damage you're doing, which is really strong if you're lacking high NP characters. If you're more relying on your NP1 or even NP2 characters, that 30% NP damage buff getting overclocked by Oberon's third skill is going to make a world of a difference. But if you're asking me which one of these two should you prioritize, you have to look at your account. Unless there's a determining factor where maybe you just like Castoria a little bit more, or you just like Ace the Savior because she's got a big floppy hat, or maybe you just like that it's Morgan in the third ascension. Whatever reason kind of teeters you to one over the other, if there's nothing you're particularly lacking in your account, you can go for either one because they're both very, very strong, but they do different things. One is a multi-power mod single target arts destruction machine, and the other one is an AoE character that also flexes as a support type character if you need her to do so. But I would say it's between one of those two if you already have Oberon. And I guess just to kind of get this out there because there are newer players, if you already have Oberon, you don't need to summon for a second copy. I know he has an offensive NP, but you're predominantly 99% of the time going to be using him as just a support. You're never going to fire his NP. So if you already have the one Oberon, you can pivot down to that tier 2 and determine Ace or Summer Castoria. Then we move down into tier 3. Tier 3 of the prioritization is going to be the rerun for Scotty Ruler, and that is because if you want to do anything quick related, which I know people are in the comments are going to be like, quick, I don't use that card type, isn't that bad? No, there are some absolute bombs in the quick archetype. I mean, you've got people like Wangina coming up who is really dang good. You have Lohai coming out next year. New Dante's coming out next year. Lilith is a quick character, and I know you probably like that character, and if you want to use them to the best of their ability, you're going to want Ruler Scotty. Now, you may ask, ZTL, I already have Caster Scotty. Is that good enough? No, because there are quick characters that prefer having the double Ruler Scotty plug suiting into Caster Scotty for that extra quick buff over an Oberon plug suit because they need the extra NP refund. Which is why, even though people will say, haha, quick bad, it's not bad. It's just the least viable, I guess, of the three card types. It has the hardest time, but Ruler Scotty bends over backwards to make them pretty dang good. And again, to tie back to the Caster Scotty question, she gives you a 65% quick buff, which might not sound like a big deal if you're using Caster Scotty. You're saying, well, I already have 50%. Is it really going to be that big of a deal? But consider that with double Ruler Scotty, that little 15% is going to culminate in an extra 30% quick performance, which is not only more damage, but it's also extra NP refund, which is why some looping characters really like having that additional quick refund buff, which is why I put her on that third tier for prioritization, because she's going to benefit any and all quick characters you want to use. Even if you already have Caster Scotty, this should be on your radar. And now this isn't to say that Melusine is a bad character by any stretch of the imagination. This is not why she's the lowest on the priority list. It's simply because she's just another arts AoE looper, and she's arguably not even the best at that job because last year we got Summer Ibuki. So if you're hurting for an arts AoE character, you can just go ahead and try to bag her. Because conveniently, Summer Ibuki is also coming back with Ruler Scotty. They're doing a whole rerun for the last year's summer. Again, not to say that Melusine can't accomplish things that Summer Ibuki can't. I mean, the 80% battery that she's rocking is really nice if you highly invest into your Ruler Melusine and you're going into nodes where you have to loop against one enemy for a node, and 80% battery is going to be enough in that scenario, because sure, you might only refund like 20-25% of your NP, but guess what? 80% battery means you're guaranteed to loop the next node. So it's not to say that she's bad by any stretch of the imagination, it's just the other characters do more, and they're vying to be the best in their associated roles. I mean, Summer Castoria is fighting to be the best single target arts character in the game, whereas Melusine is just another really strong arts AoE character. If you've already got somebody like that built, I mean, you've already got like your Summer Ibuki, then you don't have to worry about that. And if you don't, I would personally go for Summer Ibuki. Again, there are things you could debate back and forth for whether or not you should go for Ruler Melusine versus Summer Ibuki, but I find that Summer Ibuki has been better in the last 2 to 3 years that I've been using her. And something I want to reiterate here at the end of the video is that I'm not telling you that you can't summon for any of these other characters. The reason I'm making this video is because all of these characters are insanely good. They're immeasurably good. And so it's giving you some of my knowledge, some of my experience from using these characters for the last like 2-3 years plus for some of them. I mean, Oberon is pretty old, so is Ruler Scotty, and trying to tell you if I was in a position where I had none of these characters, this is how I would prioritize it. I would work down the list of, I don't have Oberon, I gotta get my grubby little mitts on him. It's just an unfortunate fact of life for FGO that you have to bag the support characters. This game lives and dies whether or not you have those supports, because once you get them, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. For instance, you might not have a whole lot of damage, but Oberon overclocks your unit so much that NP1 to NP2 might just be good enough for certain stages, whereas if you didn't have him, you're going to be struggling a little bit. Same thing for Ruler Scotty. There's not a whole lot of other quick supports in the game that does what she does. I mean, there's Caster Scotty, but now that we have the Ruler Scotty, this is the primo version to use if you want them to be at their absolute best and performing the best they can. But I prioritize her lower than people like Artoria Caster and Summer Morgan over there because they are just so individually strong that you probably should get your hands on them. Especially with Summer Morgan over there also being able to flex as a little bit of a support. So just to reiterate, you work down the checklist of, do you have Oberon or not? You don't need additional copies of him, so if you do have him, then you can skip priority level 1, you can move right on down. But if you don't have Oberon, you gotta at least allot some Saint Quartz for him to make sure you can try to get him whenever he drops after the Artoria Caster banner. But then you move down to priority level 2. Ace and Castoria Zerk, because again, these are pretty much the two battling for who is the best character this year. And they do wildly different things, so you need to look at your account and determine what you need and then make a decision accordingly. But if you don't need either one of the two and you don't really care about them, then you can move down to priority level 3, Scotty Ruler. You want your quick characters to be doing something good because I guarantee you there is at least one quick character in the game that you're going to want to use, whether it's the newly released Saber Medusa, it's Lilith in the future, or you just want to do quick looping with somebody like Karen, you're going to want to have Ruler Scotty in your Chaldea. And finally, there's Melusine Ruler, just because out of the batch of the servants, she's the one that's the most easily replaceable, especially when Summer Ibuki is going to be on rate up when she is, so you got to make a decision on that. But again, like always, I'm not telling you that you have to do this. FGO is a very forgiving game in a way that if you're willing to put some brain power into it and do a couple of trial and error runs, you can figure out a way to beat nodes without Oberon. Is it going to be a bit annoying? Yeah, it's going to be a bit annoying. But if you want to do it, you can get the job done, because that's what I did with Ace the Savior. I wanted her to work, but I didn't have Koya Sky, I didn't have my own Oberon, and so I did a little bit of testing and I was able to find a setup that works really well for her. So this is just advice from somebody that's been playing the game for about 8 years at this point. So I've got a little bit of experience under my belt, and I've been playing with all of these characters for the past 2 to 4 years, depending on, how old they are again. Because, Oberon's pretty old, but some people like Ace the Savior are still a little bit newer, quote unquote, because they're only like 2 years old on JP. But let me know in the comment section down below. I would like to see, with this information, if it's helped with who you should be prioritizing and it's helped you come to a decision on who you want to summon on. If you are still a bit stuck or you don't really know what your account needs, feel free to ask me on any of the live streams where I stream during the weekdays, or feel free to reach out to somebody on the Discord. If I'm not available, there are plenty of people in our FGO channel that can help you make a decision. Or if you want more direct access to me, well, directly, there is the Patreon that's linked down in the description down below that does get you into a patron exclusive chat, where not only can you ring my line just a little bit easier, but you also get access to patron exclusive video. That being said, if I am available, I will still help people out in the FGO channel if I'm there. It's just, again, the Patreon chat does get a little bit more ring-a-ding-ding attention. But with that being said, I think that's everything. I've yapped about all that I wanted to get out there. I think I've conveyed all the information that I've compiled to help you come to the best decision on who you should prioritize for the upcoming banners. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice rest of your day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace!